Good day, everybody. My name is Fitz Rabin, and I present you today with a passage from the Sefer Ramach Oisius, which is a book of aphorisms and teachings that are ostensibly originate, many of them at least, from the famed Chassid of Hillel Parcher, and most of which were transmitted through the famed mentor and teacher Reb Groinem of Lubavitch. Just to create a little bit of a context for this teaching, I'd like to offer a distinction. And the distinction that I want to offer is there's a difference between being a chassid of and the being of a chassid. The first one, being a chassid of, is to be a follower of, to be a devotee, to be a disciple. Of who? Of a spiritual teacher, of a master, of a rebbe. Generally speaking, when we think in that frame of reference of being a chassid of the rebbe, a disciple or a devotee or a student of the rebbe or of a spiritual teacher or of a master, we often associate that with doing what they say, with fulfilling their suggestions, observing their directives. If I do the rituals and if I follow the guidance that this master has provided and has offered, then I am a chassid of this master. I am a chassid of this rebbe. I am a devotee of him. And I identify as that. But then there's something else. And that's what I call the being of a chassid, which is a distinct inner constitution, a distinct way of being in the world, and a way of being in the service of God and in the service of man. And it's distinct. It's characteristic of a greater expanse of awareness. It's characteristic of higher consciousness, and it allows for more vitality, passion, love, devotion to be embodied in the person. And this is regardless of whether or not you're a devotee of a particular spiritual master, let alone who is the rebbe, the teacher, or the master who you follow. This is an internal question. This is an internal constitution. This is a way of being in the world and an intensity of relatedness to divine service, to purpose. So a person can be a chassid of a rebbe, a devotee or a committed follower of a rebbe, and that will often be characterized by their observing the directives of that teacher and upholding that teacher's guidance and teachings. And then, regardless of who your teacher is and the exact directives that he has provided and offered and the precise path that you're following, there is a certain state of being a chassid, which is self-referential, and it refers to a certain inner world and a certain way of relating and a certain frame of reference in the service of God that's universal. And that's not necessarily contingent or related to a particular rebbe or a particular teacher. It's just a deeper way of being in the world and in divine service. And so here there's a teaching that speaks to three requirements or three distinct qualities that characterize and constitute this being of a chassid. Not being a chassid of someone, but the internal being of a chassid. And so today I'm going to elaborate on the first of the three. And in the next recording, I will elaborate on the second and maybe the third as well. Hanocha mekuyanis. It is an established assertion. She'i efshar liyes chosid. That it is impossible to embody the being of a chosid. Bilti gimel dvarim, without three things. Aleph, the first of them, she'i az ponim. The one ought to be bold. Hainu, this is to say, one shouldn't say, I can't go in that way because it's not pleasant for this one. And I can't do such and such a thing in front of that person because it will compromise him. It will make him feel uncomfortable. It will offend. Rather, one must be bold. Here's my understanding of this teaching. There are many people in the world who, whether intentionally or unintentionally, have made pleasing people and accommodating people and assuaging people their highest value. They live as if they do something, if they execute their purpose, if they live on purpose, if they live by intention, and someone else is made uncomfortable by that or offended by that, they need to prioritize that concern. And they need to ensure that no one is made to feel uncomfortable or compromised in any way around them. And on its surface, it looks like loving kindness. It looks like a high level of sensitivity. It looks like a high level of loving commitment. But actually, there's something very sinister, disempowering, and untrue about this. What is that? This approach assumes that it's possible to actually control and manipulate whether or not someone else will feel uncomfortable by me, whether or not someone else will feel offended by me. And in truth, there's no way for us to control how someone else will feel. We can take into consideration how someone else will feel. We can be aware, we can be sensitive. However, we cannot control how someone else will feel in reaction to the way we're being and who we're being in the world. So it's actually a dead end to live as if the highest value is to ensure that everyone around me is comfortable and not made uncomfortable or offended in any way by the way I'm living, is to become strangulated by an impossibility. It means that you will never live boldly and courageously and bravely into your purpose and into why you're here. And it also means you won't even necessarily achieve the goal of no one being uncomfortable by you, because that's something that ultimately cannot be controlled. And while you might think that you've succeeded in assuaging or averting someone being uncomfortable, there may be just one person over that is still uncomfortable by you. And even the person who you think you have averted it with, maybe on a deeper level, it's still there. There's no way for us to control how other people will feel. Other people can control how they feel in reaction to you. I can control how I feel in reaction to anyone. That's in my domain. But what is not in my domain is the ability to control how someone else will feel in reaction to me. I can be sensitive, I can be aware, I can be respectful, and I can't control ultimately how someone else will react and whether or not they'll be comfortable or perfectly comfortable or offended or not. And so therefore, the first item of business, the first quality, the first characteristic of the being of a chassid is understanding this. And is having the courage to be bold, to fulfill your purpose, to express your potential and to be who you are meant to be uniquely in the world, with the awareness that some people might be uncomfortable by that, and to cultivate the courage to be okay with that, to place the purpose for which you're here and the unique mission that you have and that is meant to express itself in the world through your distinct character and through your distinct qualities, to put that purpose above the value of pleasing people. Again, this doesn't mean to be reckless, to be disrespectful, to overtly discount and step on other people. But it does mean to let go of the illusion that it's possible to control how someone else will react or feel about you, so that you can be you fully and fulfill on your mission and on your purpose, and so that they are then allowed to contend with their own self, and so that they are then allowed the process of dealing with their reactivity and create the wholesomeness within themselves that they are destined to. Without this, when pleasing people and concerns of controlling the level of comfort of other people about us is primary, we are strangulated. We cannot express what we're meant to. We cannot fulfill what we're meant to. And in the end, we can't even ensure that no one is compromised or made uncomfortable by us. So I personally find this extremely, extremely meaningful and empowering and important. In order to be a chassid, this is the first of the three qualifications: boldness, courage, and the letting go of the illusion that you can actually control other people's reactions to you. If you would like to be in conversation together, to go deeper on this, to dissolve people-pleasing from your life, or certainly people-pleasing that strangulates and disempowers and doesn't really serve your purpose or them or the world. If you'd like to be in a conversation to create more deeply who you are and what you'd love in your life, that's what I do with people, and I'd love to be in conversation with you. Please reach out. I love you all. Thank you for receiving.